Yeah, well, thanks everyone. It's cool that everyone comes to the table with a different experience about poetry. Again, our society wants a lot of specific ways to express it, and tonight we're going to express it from, I don't know, kind of like a different path. So I'm going to take you guys on this journey. We're going to start out by doing an opening ritual, which is basically a way to kind of like create space to have expression, to have creative expression. And so what we're going to do is we're actually going to create a fountain poem. I don't know, does anyone know what a fountain poem is or have any experience? And so I'm giving you guys all the same text, but you guys are definitely going to come up with different things, obviously. And so what we're going to do is try to think of it as a way to introduce yourself to us when you're doing this fountain poem. So maybe there's words in here that stick out to you as something that is nostalgic for you, or something that gives you life, or something that maybe you want to forget. Just think about that and try to use what's on the page, as your palette. And so we're gonna have like maybe 3 to 5 minutes to do this. So I'll just give you guys this.
Can words, phrases,
just words
rearranged?
I think they're 2 pages. Oh wait, nope. Okay.
So you can do it. You can rearrange it. I would say try to keep it in the order that it's already written. But if you can remember how that looks for you, then it's fine. And then we're gonna read it out loud when we're done. If you guys are all comfortable with that, and then we'll go from there. So, any other questions?
Do we have something to block out?
Yeah, we have all these wonderful markers and pens and everything in the room.
Nope, can't read that.
You could have just been. Never.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pens, markers, paste this down. Thank you.
Yours looks so pretty.
It does. It looks like water. And it's multiple colors, which is great.
I'm putting down my pencil like all the way. Almost getting right on
Oh, these words.
Alright, so before we share, let's share about how was that experience for you guys? Just anyone can share popcorn style.
I'm curious to know how people went about it. Like, I know for me, I started out and I just got rid of most all the proper words, proper pronouns, because I knew, like, I'm not going to use those. And then kind of started looking. Well, I read through the whole thing and blocked out proper names. And then started looking for stuff that I connected with or resonated.
It's kind of annoying because I could see things that I wanted to say, but there just weren't the right words there to make that a sentence.
Like the magnet word things. Like, it's never going to be
Magnet
what I
word,
want it to be, because the words, like, just when I see a couple words that make me think of a line, and I'm looking for the and or the or the something like that to fill in with it, and then, like, that's just not on the page.
Mine was pretty easy. I just started with like the first thing that popped in, and then just like followed it from there. Not very much of a writer, and I often find myself at a lack of written word. So it was kind of nice to steal someone else's.
Nice. Good, feel that way.
It is much easier than kind of come up with thoughts on your own that you don't necessarily have.
Yeah.
It's like read it and then like think of something that jumps out to you first.
Yeah, for sure.
Kind of like takes control of you, I think.
I found it was harder in that respect because it was like, I know what I want to create. The moment I see blank page in front of me, that just happens. Like, I don't even need to think about it for it to happen. But this, it's like I had to
saying
be
what was in your head.
exactly. So I had to be very intentional, and I had to focus on finding out what I could tell y'all about me through this piece that's completely random.
Yeah.
Where I could just sit down and write real quick for the same amount of time and tell y'all a little bit more about me, and it would still be pretty random. But yeah, there's just flawless control.
In some ways, I think it makes the ability, because for me, poetry always feels really vulnerable. So if I write a poem, I never want to share it with someone. But this is like almost like in some ways hides that a little bit, because it's someone else's words, so you can only do so much with it.
Time. So let's take a moment to let's just go around the table really fast and say everyone's names again, so we don't know each other when we're addressing each other. So I'm Caitlin.
Danny.
Karen. Emily.
Try.
Thank you. So what we're gonna do is we're going to share, if everyone's comfortable with that, just the poems that they came up with on this piece of paper. I'm going to invite someone to volunteer, and if no one volunteers, then I'll go first. And then after you're done reading, you need to invite someone else to share. So think of someone who hasn't gone or someone that you want to invite to share. Obviously, there's a few of us. So, does someone want to volunteer to go first?
Sounds like you're going first.
I'll volunteer.
Go, Caitlin.
All right. Okay. Her mouth, a computer screen, packing, forgotten, full, fiery. Her tongue is responsible for philosophy and refuge. Remember, no offense, no offense. Be aware of your life as a multiverse, an idea for questions. When leaves begin to push, and real is a filing cabinet. Is a filing cabinet of today's show. So.
Let's see a note after cabinet.
So, yeah, thank you. So when it comes to introducing myself through this poem, I kind of think of it as just myself as an ongoing person who's evolving through experiences and through just everyday interactions and carrying the things from the past and kind of, yeah, just being fully who I am, even if it's positive and negative, even if it's at the same time. So, to share.
Okay. Share's not gonna sound nearly as fluid. Okay. Behaviors are impacting. 3 years of study. Thought it might help. Remember, speak, learning how to, being more in your life. In the end, experience, like right now, otherwise useless, life never intended for her. I am so full and passionately about it. She has a mouthful, but she is not responsible. Although a fancy degree, but when we see one, it's a real issue. Trying to get to the dance floor, no questions or problems. Bag packing, begin with an eagerness, no different from real life. Feet on the ground, lifts and coasts, but this is the most enjoyable thing that has happened.
Nice. Thank you.
Just say something else.
You guys want to?
Yeah. Like I said, it just has more to do with like finishing my degree and it taking a lot more time than I thought it was going to, and all the progress and things that happened along the way.
Yeah.
Finishing it.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
Oh, I'm just invite someone.
Yes.
Dre,
Hmm.
I invite you to share your poem with us.
It feels so nice to be invited.
No,
It's
I'm just
a new
really
experience
curious
for me.
what you came up with in light of your frustration of like wanting it to be something else, but like what you actually do. I'm just curious.
All right, let's just see it. Student loans of Socrates.
Yes.
Never forgotten the bastard sniggering. I am so full. Writes in shadows. Breaks noisily. Responsible. Of pen for misappropriation. Although a fancy degree and community in the Afro community, when we see one of our lot with a real issue, be aware. Team building, never made clear. Blockage. Spits, questions, or leaves. Shutting, begin no different from old. Maybe that was the real life. Ground, coasts. It's the most enjoyable thing that has happened this week. Or today. Whatever the last week was. And I put some of that stuff on in there, just talking about school. I was a philosophy major, so it's great. Socrates was just kicking it there. Kind of brought into what it is that I write about, and really it's for the community. I'd like to say multicultural community, but the Afro community works as well. And one of the things that seems to be lacking is this team building. Like, we're not really coming together on anything. People are so content with spending obnoxious amounts of rent money to stay inside the little boxes, watching the little boxes. So it's just interesting. I really hope that there's a way to break that mold so people can, step outside of the door a little bit more often. That's why I put things like grounding coast, because really, that's what I love. Kicking it like laying back in the grass, observing the coast, just kind of enjoying nature and being out with that. And I really think that is the best thing that happened today. So, that was the piece. And I remember started with D? Danny. Yes, I would like to invite you to check.
TikTok pulls her down. 3 years out. Philosophy thought it might help. Remember facts, speak. In it being your life, wishing, anywhere, a concept. In the end, only different, like right now, feeling of resentment, never intended for her. Out of her mouth, empathy, around it, long pointed shadows. Questions. She has a mouthful of misappropriation for a refuge, a fancy offense. But a real issue was never clear. Blockage, sighs, leaves. Maybe that was real life. Feet, ground, today happened.
I like that I can see here that like happened technically came on the page before today, but like you read it because today was on the left side of the page and then happened was on the right side of the page. And you just say today happened. I was like, I should do that. I never had today happen. All right.
Yeah, I guess, I don't know, like as soon as I started reading just this page, just been going through a lot of like healing and grieving in my life recently. And it's just like, those were just like the words that I think were speaking to me. So, that's it.
Thank you.
You invite me? Fluid. I am so full of empathy. Fiery. Shadows. A pen. Responsible. Responsible for women's refugee. A fancy degree for the women in our community. Aware. Team building. Exercise. The dance floor. The real life, the most enjoyable thing.
It's crazy, like different emphasis, different tone on the exact same phrases. It gives it like a whole different meaning.
I think it's cool. Like I don't know. I guess I didn't expect everyone to be so different from each other.
Right.
They're like not even remotely related.
We're going to transition to another form of poetry. This form of poetry is called dictation poetry. It's really exactly what it sounds like. Basically taking dictation of what someone else is saying. With poetry and with writing, with anything like you can come at it as someone who's learning or someone who's teaching. And so today we're going to do both. You're actually going to become kind of like, not necessarily a teacher, but a listener to someone else. And I'm going to teach you guys how to take a dictation poem. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take a dictation poem of each other. So it kind of like relieves yourself of writing the poem. Someone else is going to write it for you, literally like say what you say. And then hopefully it'll turn into a poem and not just a conversation, like, because our conversations aren't necessarily poetry, but they could be. And today they are going to be. So what we're going to do is, so dictation poetry is something we do in Pongo, which is a poetry therapy group that I'm a part of. And we do it as a way to help kids kind of communicate how they're feeling, what's going on in their lives, different ways of organizing their thoughts or organizing different things that they've experienced. And so you can really make this into whatever you want it to be. How I'm going to approach it personally, when I give you an example of how to take a dictation poem, I'm going to ask the person how they're feeling. And then we're going to go from there and see what happens. So it can be very personal. It can be a little vulnerable, but this is a space that is set up for that and set up for safety and set up for the experience of healing, like you mentioned earlier. And so share what you want to share, but also be open to whatever could happen. It doesn't have to be super serious. It can also be funny. So with that being said, I would like to invite Emily to help me teach the dictation poem.
Accepted.
Thank you. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this blank piece of paper right here. And I'm just going to start out, just like how I said, with asking you how you're feeling today. And where are the winding trails going?
You don't know. They're going to the top of the other mountain ranges that you can't see. You can't see every inch of the trail.
So are they spiraling or are they?
They're winding.
They're winding?
Mm-hmm.
Winding to the unknown or winding to what?
To the peak. Other peaks.
To the other peak?
Other peaks.
To the other peaks. Great. Okay, so I'm going to read the whole poem and then what do you think we should title it? Could be untitled too. I'll read it and you think about it.
Okay.
I tend to feel stressed out about time, squeezed like elevator doors coming together, trying too many things, work, trying to fit 9 or 10 hours into 8. My family is calling. Do I answer? Should I? My niece is calling me and singing happy birthday in the sweetest voice. I try to be a person of my word, committed to a poetry lesson, committed to a time with Karen who I only see every 2 to 3 years. Yes.
My name's in it.
Yes.
Right.
Yesterday at 7:45 p.m., when the ballot box closed at 8 p.m., I felt accomplished. Like the top of a mountain range, surrounded by snow-topped peaks. Wildflowers, purple, yellow, and white. And winding trails. It says winding trails winding. And winding trails spiraling to the other peaks, or to the next peaks.
To infinite destinations.
To infinity and beyond.
I'm going to call it, this is a working title, Stress Relief.
I like squeezed.
/ whatever you want to call it. So
Infinity.
let's get into groups. We'll just do maybe based on your favorite color. So if we have 2 different favorite colors, that'd be great. What's your favorite color?
Green.
What's your favorite color?
This
Purple. What's your favorite color?
Green.
2 greens. There you go. What's your favorite color?
Red.
Purple and red. Perfect. Awesome.
Okay.
So you guys are gonna be partners. You can go over here, this little table, or stay here.
I'm being purple.
I'm just going to the back of the last paper you gave us.
If they only see me as an intro. Just like when you meet people on the first day of school, wanting to see a film but never see them again. Seasons of people, but only here for the briefest of moments. You can't get mad to lose summer or you'll miss the fall. Can't get mad for the lost relationships, but welcome the increasing relationships. Feels like what I have is an open door in the woods leading to nowhere. But what I want is a door that adjusts to who you are, to know those who come into my life, to know their preferences, to be able to challenge them so they can improve, just like Professor X and Socrates joining forces, not for foolery, but to see potential growth.
Nice. Very good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Very good.
Awesome.
Sad part was, the majority of what he said was so much more poetic than that. I was like, holy crap, dude, let's just record it. Just
It's kind of cool because it's like
No.
your perspective of what
Yeah.
he's saying.
Mm-hmm.
too.
It's true.
It's like what we just did with the previous poem.
Mm-hmm. That's what you're
Sorry.
catching. Yeah, that's true. It's true.
Guys are picking up on the deep.
Emily, would you share about Annie?
Danny's poem is titled "Listening to the Wind." A
Sorry,
deer.
what did you ask? What was the thing that started it?
I'm
Curious.
If you were an animal, what animal would it be?
Nice.
It's a good one.
So, listening to the wind. A deer. Friends and I played spirit animals. Strong and fragile. Jumps a lot. Lots of community friends. Feels fanciful. Like fairies, often seen at dusk. Magical and forestry. Alert to what's going on. Romantic, earthy. Running around barefoot wearing long dresses. Fear. Deers are so scared. Maybe I really am that. Don't want to be. Want to be strong but gentle, like an oak tree or willow. Rooted and grounded, listening to the wind.
Title
Thank
is
you.
the last line.
Very last line.
Choice, author's choice.
Wait, author being
Me.
first name. Okay.
Who's the dictator?
What is it?
And now we got
Right.
dictators and
Who's the
authors.
real author?
Who's the author?
Creative rights.
Right?
Like, are you the author of your own life?
Lord. Is that you, Dre? To read.
Oh,
Aaron's
we didn't
poem.
come up with a name.
No.
Do you want to name it?
Differences?
And what was the
The
question?
question was adversity. And the time that you've overcome some adversity.
Okay.
And this is differences. Goodness. Marriage announcements to uninvolved parents. Inputless for years, unable to wield vulnerability for abusive past affected our futures. Culture dictates parents needn't interfere with the lives of their kids, whose differences and experiences of neglect have caused a rift between those with loose bonds, not out of anger, but from lack of commonalities. Decisions made and relationships forged from similar hermetic natures, the introverts, and the extroverted, world-traveling, stubborn rule breaker. Strong skin, green eyes, at contrast with the pale blues. The running joke of adoption has lost its flair. The Jungle Book story with differences aren't truly spoken, and the jokes are no longer funny.
Very good. All right, so let's
Okay, now your turn.
yeah,
Let's
let's
keep that one.
exchange, and we're gonna
Although I
end the record. But let's end by sharing one word, doing a word whip of how you feel now. Word whip is where you say one word, it's how you feel, or some. It's one word about an experience. So something really fast. First word, I feel. So I'll go first. We'll go in a circle. I feel full.
Feel inventive?
I feel released. Is it popcorn or is it like around the table?
Weird.
Yeah. It's like I have this feeling, but I'm trying to put the word to it.
Make the feeling wheel. I feel yellow.
I feel deeply.
Oh, nice.
Desire.
Would you say desire?
Mm-hmm.